Today, we will be talking about how to give a great presentation, and the 8 presentation skills that leave an impression. Number 1. Tailoring your value proposition to fit your audience. Today's decision makers want to do business with salespeople who exhibit a clear understanding of their issues, not a one-size-fits-all solution. Delivering a message focused on what is important to the prospect allows you to create value and rise above the competitive noise to become a preferred vendor. Value serves as the organizational principle around which your presentation is constructed. It helps you determine what to keep out of the entire pool of information you gathered. Although simply throwing as many features and benefits into your presentation and hoping that some might hit home is tempting. But this type of data dump presentation is a waste of time for both you and your prospect. I will help you understand the often confused differences between features, benefits, and value. Also, how to create a compelling value proposition and tailor it to address the varied needs and objectives of the decision makers. A feature is simply an attribute or fact about your product, service, or company. As with most facts, a feature has no intrinsic value. Although the benefit may be obvious to you, it may not be obvious to your prospect, and, in fact, he may have an entirely different interpretation of what the benefit of a particular feature is. For example, if I state, our company has 15,000 employees around the globe, that is a feature, a fact about my company. Now I may think the benefit is obvious, that the prospect will have 24/7 access to personal service. But the prospect may think it means he's going to be a small fish in a big pond, and miss that personal touch that is important to him. Next will be benefits. A benefit is not what you sell or how it works. A benefit is how that feature helps your prospect. Benefits are usually expressed in terms of loss or gain, for example, increasing sales, revenue, or profits, or reducing time, cost, or effort. And are best when they're quantifiable. Benefits are typically stated after a feature, and answer the question on your prospect's mind of what's in it for me. An example of a benefit: the car is fuel efficient, which means that you'll save up to $20 per visit to the gas station. Developing a value proposition. A value proposition is a clear statement of the results that the prospect can expect to receive from your product or service. Here are the areas you want to customize to reflect the true value of what your product or service can do for your prospect's business. For example, employee retention, speed to market, sales revenue. Figures or statistics: prospects want to see concrete results, not vague promises. Quantify what outcome they can expect to see from your solution. When you uncovered your prospect's goal, it was likely expressed in some type of key performance indicator, KPI such as revenue, year-over-year growth, cost per unit, and so forth. Be sure to speak in the same terms that your prospect uses. Competitive advantage: where do you outperform your competition? In almost every case, your prospect has other choices when it comes to achieving his goal or solving his problem. Therefore, a strong value proposition also states your key competitive differentiator by the question, why should I buy from you? Come up with proof. Saying that you can solve the problem isn't always enough. High-ranking executives demand proof. Claiming we can increase your ROI by 10% can raise healthy skepticism, but following it with, as recently achieved by one of our customers, provides assurance that you didn't just pull it out of the air. Letting your prospect know early on that you can justify your claims is a strong differentiator. Before going on, if you feel that I have given you some value, please help me by smashing the like button, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification bell, so you will be updated when I upload new videos like this. Number 2. Designing a winning presentation. Considering your environment. Where and how your presentation will be viewed is important to the design. Take into consideration whether it will be projected on a screen to a large group, delivered on your iPad to a single prospect, or viewed on a computer monitor. Having a hierarchy. Although the concept is one idea per slide, you may have more than one element on your slide, with multiple bullet points, heading, image, and so forth. The information on your slide has a hierarchy, which means that some things are more important than others. Think of your slide as an advertisement. Most advertisements are broken into 3 parts: headline, subhead, and details. Incorporating white space. Keep your slides simple so they're a quick read. Hence you need some white space, or a portion of the slide left unmarked. Your prospect should be able to follow what you're saying and take in your visuals at the same time. If the slide has too much information, your prospect will tune you out until he has finished processing the point of the slide. So leave off the big logos, added boxes, or cutesy graphics. The more white space you create, the stronger the visual impact. Think of your headline, with a few bullets points with image. Using contrast. You want your prospect to be able to quickly grasp the intent of each slide. If everything blurs together, your prospect won't know what to focus on. To make certain elements stand out, make the contrast between them more distinct through the use of placement, space, color, or size. Being consistent. Too many different sizes, fonts, colors, alignments, or transitions can make your presentation look like Frankenstein's monster. Keep design elements consistent within your presentation from slide to slide. Grouping. Art displays often group like items in threes to form a whole. Think about grouping similar elements in your presentation together to create a unified message as opposed to multiple messages. For example, grouping together several images of your product being used can create a message about overall usefulness as opposed to focusing on individual features. Fostering readability. You've missed the moment if people can't read your text in the back of the room or it's too fancy to decipher. Here are some tips to ensure readability. Always use at least an 18-point font on your slides, so that your prospect doesn't have to struggle read it. Balancing text. If at first glance, your slide looks like a page from the dictionary, your prospect will likely bail out when trying to read it. Try not to exceed 8 lines of text per slide, and keep it balanced on the slide to make it easy to read. The figure compares unbalanced and balanced slides. It shows a slide that has too much text unequally distributed and a slide that uses less text more evenly distributed. Number 3. Increasing emotional engagement through storytelling. Stories work for many reasons. Not only are stories a traditional form of communication, but it actually impact your prospect's brain. You see how stories can help you do more showing and less telling. It create associations that increase understanding and recall of your message. How stories can help. Engaging the brain. Brain scans reveal that stories activate certain parts of the brain that don't get activated, rather by just delivering data or information from plain description. Stories activate the language processing area as well, but they go a step further and stimulate other areas of the brain. Which is why the experience of hearing a story is so much more vivid and memorable than just hearing a bunch of facts. Syncing storyteller and listener. Recent research also indicates that during the telling of a story, the brains of both the storyteller and the listener can actually synchronize. What it really means is that the part of your brain that is activated when you tell a story will likely be activated in your listener's brain. Showing with stories. Just like you, prospects are told things all day long. We're the best. You should do this. Here's how this works. Stories allow you to show your message, solution, or results in action, which is much more effective than barraging them with a list of facts. For example, telling your prospect about all of the amazing things your product can do may create a healthy amount of skepticism. However, telling a story about a customer's positive experience with your product is much more likely to make your prospect a believer, or at least intrigue them. Number 4. The presenter's credibility. Boosting your credibility and how to do it. Credibility is the power to inspire belief or trust in others. In a presentation, credibility is how much trust your prospect places in what you're saying. If the trust is low, your every statement can be subject to scrutiny and skepticism. If trust is high, you're given the benefit of the doubt in most instances. Being perceived as credible is critical to the success of your presentation, therefore, it deserves some thoughtful consideration and planning. Use a reference. Receiving the thumbs up from others in your prospect's company or industry can give you a great deal of credibility. Weave these stories into your presentation early to establish credibility. Or if you have an internal advocate, leverage that connection with an introduction. Share qualifications. Think about what qualifies you to present on your topic. Some things to consider include your title or accreditations, length of time in your position, experience with the subject or industry, professional achievements or awards. Show congruency. Credible people's words match their actions. If your words say one thing but your body says another, your audience will pick up on it. For example, saying you welcome questions, and then rushing through your topic without leaving space for input doesn't inspire trust. Keep your word. Being credible and trustworthy is all about doing what you say you're going to do. You can display that in simple ways during your presentation. For example, by starting when you say you're going to start, ending on time or early, and following up on all questions. Nothing makes you more credible than talking the talk and also walking the walk. Prepare like crazy. Even if you have little credibility to begin with, but an insightful, well-prepared presentation can go a long way toward improving your credibility with your audience. Make sure you have everything you need to support your case, including numbers related to your product or service. Stay authentic. Do not be phony and be who you are and what you have to offer. If you are okay with that, chances are your audience will be as well. Number 5. Engaging and managing your audience. Maintaining your prospects' attention is a challenge. Some people show no signs of shame or hesitation when it comes to texting, emailing, or talking while you're presenting. You have to find a way to work with all types of audiences if you want your proposal to have a fair chance. Engagement and interaction are critical in order to drive the sort of behavior change. But even those who aren't busy texting and emailing, they are prone to tune out during your presentation if you don't take some proactive measures. Here's why. Attention spans have declined 50% in the last decade. Sustained attention is between 5 and 20 minutes. Attention is at its highest at the start of your presentation and drops to its lowest point within 10 minutes. What you can do to keep their attention span is by using props to move the sale forward. A prop is something that supports, reinforces, or clarifies your message. Props can enhance your presentation in a way that words alone can't. Much in the same way that an actor uses a prop to help support his character and move the action of the play forward. A prop in your sales presentation can help support your message and move the sale forward. Use a product model or sample. Sometimes nothing is more powerful than seeing the product itself. Also use video. If engagement were a pyramid, video would be up there toward the peak. Demonstrations. Depends on what you're selling, but showing how the product works certainly captures their attention. Number 6. Ratcheting up the tension as you build your case. You need to build a persuasive case, and the importance of triggering your prospect's emotions and maintaining her attention. Creating a logical structure. Like any legal case, your presentation must be structured in a way that is logical and organized well and builds to an obvious conclusion. Trial lawyers spend weeks, often months, building a persuasive case for their clients. Engaging emotion and how to do so. Logic is never enough in sales. If it were, closing ratios would be through the roof. You must also present your case in a way that triggers your prospect's emotions. The most persuasive cases are a combination of logic and emotion. Although salespeople may give emotion some attention during the opening and closing of their presentations, they often forget about engaging their prospect on an emotional level during the middle of their presentation. That is by interpreting statistics. Why are those stats important to your prospect? What do those numbers mean? For example, if I told you that we could save you 5% in IT costs per year. That may sound pretty good, but have little emotional impact to you with nothing to compare it to. If I told you that a 5% savings in IT costs equated to 5,000 bottles of your favorite wine, I bet you would have a much clearer picture of the value. And you'd remember it a lot longer. You can also trigger emotions by showing a day in the life. When you introduce a feature or process, place your prospect or someone within your prospect's organization in the shoes of a product user, and take her through the process of using your product or feature. For example, if you're presenting a medical device to a team of nurses and physicians, you can tell the story from a nurse's perspective. For example, when a patient's chart indicates that he needs to be tested, you simply touch the display and enter your code and results will be generated within 1 minute. Using metaphor. Comparing a lesser-known item to something more familiar to your prospect makes it easier for her to understand and promotes memory. For example, imagine if you are selling a software to a car grooming company. You can say this software is like the soap for your company. It runs on its own and will kill any dirt or viruses on your system. Number 7. Creating closings that make your prospect take action. Avoid the any questions close. Example will be, so that's our presentation, now I'd like to open it up to questions. This is the most common closing in the world, and seasoned pros and new salespeople alike do it. If you've crafted an interactive presentation, you'll have invited questions at specific points on topics throughout your presentation, so the need for questions should be minimal. Instead, bookending your opening hook. You have a great opening hook, a story, a theme, or an interesting fact that grabs your audience's attention. Don't just deliver it once and let it die. Revisit it during your closing. People love the symmetry of full circle. For example, using case studies as well. We talked earlier about how ABC company manages to secure 20% customer on their first month by using this new messaging system. And thus, how our solution can give your company the ability to increase your revenue by using this proven system. Add in facts and figures. Quantifying proof using figures and data is the strongest form of proof for most prospects. Number 8. Handling objections like a pro. How to break the objection apart. The first part of the process involves peeling back the onion. It is to discover what's really at the core of the objection, before you attempt to answer it. You can do so in the following ways. Listening to your prospect's objection in its entirety takes self-discipline and confidence. But doing so is absolutely necessary with no shortcuts. Interrupting or talking over your prospect is often hard to resist when you assume you know what your prospect is going to say. Tuning out, or minimizing your prospect's response can stem from a desire to avoid hearing something uncomfortable. Pause. If you respond to an objection immediately after your prospect utters it, it sounds as if you're parroting back a canned response. Today's buyers have heard all of the tricks. The feel, felt, found. Or the amateur psychologist. You must have had a bad experience, can you tell me about it? Instead, take a few seconds to consider what they've said. Doing so can help you collect your thoughts and rein in your emotions as well, before jumping in to respond. Clarify. After you hear your prospect, continue to ask questions to clarify his objection. Don't assume you understand what his answer is even if it seems self-evident. The rule of yes and. This rule helps you to address objections in a non-confrontational, but effective manner. That can get prospects unstuck off an objection. But what if I don't agree with him? I hear you saying. You don't have to agree with your prospect's objection. You don't even have to like it. But as a starting place, you do need to acknowledge your prospect's perception of reality. Arguing with reality isn't a winning tactic. Here's how this technique works for objections. Consider this example of saying yes and to your prospect. Objection. I don't need all of those services. Yes, and that's what a lot of our clients have said before finding out how fully customizable our services are. And what's really interesting is how many have come to realize that they do have additional needs. And we're there for them when they do. Practice these tips and you should be able to perform better on your presentations. Also, if you like this video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for future updates. Thank you.